Welcome again, dismembers. This is Mindy. Just a reminder, I've spent 20 plus years in public service, which means I've battled government red tape, wrangled the media, survived fucking cops with a sense of humor, and endured enough reply all emails to last a fucking lifetime. Now I'm here to expose the messy, fascinating, and occasionally what the fuck world of unidentified and missing person investigations. These aren't just cases, they're people with stories. And if we can make you laugh, gag, or raise an eyebrow while we talk about the dark side, well, mission accomplished.
Ain't that the truth? Mission accomplished, but I'm not Tom Cruise.
Right.
And I am not jumping out of a helicopter with a gun in my
on.
hand. I know. No, that's
Let's
mission.
do it.
That's Mission Impossible. Never mind. This might be Mission Impossible. You never know.
Some of these cases are Mission
Yeah,
Impossible.
That's true. Good point. Welcome, dismembers. Hey there, I'm Dr. Nikki. I've worked in the forensic anthropology, death investigation, and crime scene analysis field for over 30 years. I've witnessed the inhumane things people can do to each other and the incredibly humane ways committed folks in the law enforcement and death investigation communities investigate those crimes. Hey, needless to say, I've seen a bunch of things. And one of the things we want to emphasize in every podcast is that every individual we talk about, either missing or unidentified, is and was a person. These moms, dads, sisters, and brothers had lives, hopes, dreams, and futures. We want to make sure you see the behind the scenes effort it takes to bring them home. That's why we're here.
All right, pour a glass. Well, hell, pour the whole damn bottle.
Okay.
This one, I mean,
don't have to tell me twice.
I'm like, are we asking? Let's go. So this one's going to take us deep into the thick Oregon backwoods, where back in the summer of 1971, a father and son out on a road trip made a stop they'll never forget. So picture this: Redwood Highway, milepost 35 to be exact, in Josephine County, Oregon. Sunlight filtering through towering Douglas firs. The air smells like cedar, dust, and just a hint of you're way too fucking far from cell service to call for help. You know, out there where you hear those banjos slightly off into the distance.
Oh my God, I almost started doing like a bird call.
Yes, those
We're setting this up to be so bucolic, so beautiful, so right. Southern Oregon. But this is classic Southern Oregon. It's rugged, it is beautiful, but it's also isolated and remote. Josephine County is one of the southernmost counties in Oregon, surrounded by Curry County to the west and Jackson County to the east. The county seat is Grants Pass, which is also the departure point for most Rogue River scenic waterway guided fishing and boat trips. Just a little trivia tidbit here. The Illinois, just to take you on a little tour, the Illinois River, one of the Rogue's tributaries, has also been designated a scenic waterway. This is a very beautiful location in the nation. This location is perfect for camping. It's perfect to get away from, say, fireworks or your neighbors. It's a perfect turn-off spot, milepost 35, if you're looking to have a peaceful evening in your camper on a fishing trip, or apparently dumping a body.
Oh, girl. Don't. I was just starting to romanticize about some van life in the woods. And then you always go dark super quick with that shit.
Yes, I do. Sorry, but it's true. On August 19th, 1971, the father and son were poking around in the woods the morning after spending the night off of a dirt logging road near milepost 35 in Josephine County after a night of camping and stumbled on human remains, scattered bones, clothing, personal effects. It was what appeared to be a young woman. This person had been dead for months, the body left to degrade into the elements and be scavenged by wildlife.
Okay, but not just bones, right? This is where it's good. There were
Mhm.
clues, right? Actual breadcrumbs for investigators. I mean, lots of things that were found that day that looked to be associated with the remains and looked to investigators as if they would wrap this one up pretty quickly, actually.
Right. It's true. When you find all of these personal items, you think this is going to be straightforward. I was just about to say this is going to be easy, but nothing's ever easy, right?
Nothing's
This
ever easy.
this could potentially be straightforward for investigators. So let's break it down. They found a degraded pink and beige waist length belted coat wrapped around her head.
Oh, that's
A
not
sh-
normal.
no, not so much. A shredded tan long sleeve turtleneck blouse with a zipper up the back, the remnants of a pair of Wrangler blue denim jeans, Mrs. size 13-14, square toed brown synthetic leather shoes with gold buckles, size 8.5, and a hair mass of dark
Ooh.
auburn hair. I know, kind of grody, but hair does
Uh-huh.
seem to persist once people decompose and become skeletonized.
And that put a picture in my head. A
Yeah,
mass
sorry,
of dark auburn hair. Mm-hmm.
a hair
Yep.
mass. Yeah, grody.
Swallow down
And
my
then,
puke.
yeah, I know, sorry about that. You knew what was coming.
I did.
Even though. And then also, Mindy, some really distinctive jewelry was found.
Ooh, the rings. Tell me about the rings.
Yes, two very distinct rings were found with the body and were definitely associated with her. One was a thicker silver band etched in all caps the word sterling inside with two arrows and the letters M-H between them. Second ring was a large gold oval shaped mother of pearl ring. Get this, with the letters A-L hand scratched into that mother of pearl stone.
AL. What does that stand for?
Mm.
Could it be a shout out to a loved one?
Mm.
Could it be the initials of a boyfriend, you think?
Mm.
We know how teenage girls love to carve shit into shit when they are really into someone. Come
That's
on.
true.
Was that a thing in the early 70s? Maybe. I
Mm.
just picture a kid carving initials into a tree somewhere. Or did someone else do the carving? Maybe someone who wanted her remembered or someone marking her as property.
Ooh, interesting theory, Mindy. That's one of the great unanswered questions at this point. Was she leaving a clue? Was she trying to say, if something happens, this is me? It was just impossible to know exactly what it meant at that time. Again, 1971, I must remind you, but it was important enough to her to disfigure this huge mother of pearl ring with these two letters.
Or was it some toxic dude like, this is my girl, AL? You know, early 70s Tinder vibes?
Oh my
Or,
God.
right? Come on.
Ew.
Or, yeah, oh, I know. Or maybe it really is her boyfriend, AL. You know, Albert,
Oh, Al.
right? Although for some reason, I highly doubt that. For this poor girl, she's found in the deep woods, no ID, no cause of death. What did investigators do?
They tried their best. They researched and investigated the shit out of this. The Josephine County Sheriff's Office treated it, probably obviously, as a homicide from day one. But remember, this was 1971. No DNA testing, no national databases. She was skeletonized, so obviously no fingerprints to collect. Dental records were, of course, a thing, and her dental characteristics were x rayed and the codes for each tooth documented like a dentist would with a live person. So we had a full set of dental characteristics encoded and documented. But how do you match dental records to a missing person unless you know who to compare them to, right? That's the biggest question. And you've got to have a known missing person to compare to your unknown individual. Detectives did find that the M-H with the arrows on the inside of that silver sterling ring is the symbol etched into the rings produced in the 1950s by a Rhode Island jeweler, McGrath Hammond. They made a lot of jewelry, and they etched that into the interior bands of all of their rings. But that certainly didn't mean she was from the East Coast. It just meant that she owned a ring that was made by McGrath Hammond. So it's a great clue, and it was fantastic that they were able to pull that up and figure that out, but it didn't necessarily get them very far.
By the way, you can head over to our website and our socials to take a look at the actual pictures of the coat, the shoes, and both rings found with the body. meetmeatthemorgue.org has all the images posted so you can see for yourself.
Okay, wait a minute. Time out. Did you just say meetmeatthemorgue.org?
Absolutely.
That's our website, meetmeatthemorgue.org. That rhymes.
I know. How cool is that? And what a coinky dink, right? We didn't plan it, folks.
No, not at all. It could have been .com. It could have been, and yet we wanted it to rhyme.
Exactly. That's how cool we are.
That's so true.
So back to the case.
That's how fucked up we are, actually.
Well, I mean, let's be honest.
Let's be
True
honest.
that.
Okay. Back to the story. Thank
you.
So
back to the story, friends. So basically it was, all right, ask around town and hope somebody's missing a girl.
Exactly. I mean, they did do everything they possibly could on this case in 1971 and came up empty. Her file was marked Jane Doe, Josephine County 71-940. That's her case number. And it was basically filed away after all of the investigative leads had gone cold. She became another rural Oregon mystery to the Josephine County investigators. There are a few still currently in that area of the country. This investigative team did everything that they possibly could have at that time.
Okay, people, but Josephine County is wild. I mean, literally wild. Logging roads that turn into hiking trails that turn into where's my next body dump site roads. For people outside Oregon, this is Bigfoot territory, right? You could be 100 yards off the highway and still be 100% invisible.
You could probably be 5 yards off the highway and still be invisible.
Invisible, absolutely.
I mean, just a side note, I remember being at a crime scene looking for a body literally feet off of the roads, and we could not find her. That's a whole different story. We'll probably go into that in a different podcast. But literally 14 detectives walked by her body for about 3 hours before someone actually caught a glimpse of her shoe. Not this crazy case, different case, but that's how easily these bodies can be concealed in the Oregon wilderness. And that remoteness worked against our young unidentified gal for sure. Even when investigators entered her dental characteristics into a new type of database, the National Crime Information Center, in the 1990s, still there was no leads, no investigative hits, nothing that said our missing person from, say, Iowa is your unidentified girl in Josephine County. Nothing was working.
So come on, Nikki. So when does the science show up to save the day? I'm ready for it now.
To save the day, doesn't it? And I'm happy to report that our knight in shining genome comes in really incremental steps, starting in the 2000s. First of all, a clay facial reconstruction was created by Clackamas County Sheriff's Office forensic artist Joyce Nagy in 2004. So a long, long time ago. That's when we were still doing clay facial reconstructions.
Again, amazing art form.
Absolutely.
Almost a lost art.
Based on scientific principles of tissue depth, but these reconstructions do use a type of an artistic bend to them. So you have to be really good at science and you have to be really good at the art of it as well. But Joyce was one of the best, for sure. Joyce Nagy from Clackamas County. When Joyce was creating the clay rendition of what she thought this young girl may have looked like, she ended up just randomly calling her Annie. And then the name kind of stuck. Everyone started calling the case Josephine County Annie Doe. In 2006, the case was entered into NCIC. And again, the dental characteristics and coding were there, but no leads were generated.
Wait, that's an acronym that our listeners need to know about. NCIC. The National Crime Information Center is the United States' central database for tracking crime-related information. The NCIC has been an information sharing tool since 1967. It is maintained by the Criminal Justice Information Services Division of the FBI and is interlinked with federal, tribal, state, and local agencies and offices. Okay, sorry, I needed to get that out there so we are all on the same page.
Public service announcement from Mindy.
Yep, just, because we talk a lot of acronyms.
Defining yet another acronym. They're everywhere.
Another, yeah.
We'll do our best, dismembers.
Public service.
It's true.
All acronyms. So in 2007, the Doe Network published the case on their national website. And in 2008, the case was entered into NamUs. And the clothing was re-examined by forensic scientists for possible DNA evidence collection. Degradation prevented any foreign DNA from being revealed.
So they're continuing to work on this case. They're continuing to look at it from different angles. You really have to applaud the diligence of everyone in this case. And yes, I'm kind of applauding myself because I was working on it then too.
Right. But year after year after year,
yeah,
it's never out of your mind.
It's true. So at that point, the entire skeleton had been held in Josephine County Sheriff's Office, but was then shipped to the Oregon State Medical Examiner's Office for safekeeping in 2012. Thank goodness they did that, because we continued to work on the case from our end at the state ME's office. But the next step was 4 years later. In 2016, our medical examiner's office sent Annie Doe's skull to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, or NCMEC, for a 3-dimensional facial reconstruction. NCMEC also found a lab that would perform stable isotope analysis on portions of her teeth, her femur or upper leg bone, and her hair, basically analyzing her biological material to create an isotopic signature or blueprint. Isotopes are different forms of an element naturally contained in the environment and in human tissue. Individuals take in varying levels of isotopes throughout their lifetime, and isotopes in the environment differ from place to place. So to look at the deceased girl's isotopic signature is to narrow down where she may have resided geographically. So stable isotope analysis can determine where a person grew up or where they lived in the last 20 to 25 years of their life. She didn't make it to 20 to 25 years. She was basically a teenager. Mm-hmm. So stable isotope analysis was important in this case. So the environmental isotopic signature is different from one area of the country or world to another based on these chemical signatures from the food and water we eat and drink.
Like CSI meets Google Maps for a person, right? Put a pin in it, right?
Put a pin in it.
Put a pin in it. So, dear Lord, you guys worked this like really a part-time job on top of your full-time job.
On top of the full-time job, I had a part-time job, and it was this case.
Yeah,
exactly. So the isotopic signature results suggested she grew up somewhere along the northern U.S. border, all the way from the West Coast to the East Coast. So a large swath of land all along the border. So maybe Washington State, maybe New England or Canada, but still it couldn't narrow down her location or her geographic location where she grew up or was born or lived her entire life exactly. There was no match. So we couldn't quite put a pin in it at that point.
Enter the DNA Doe Project. And DNA Doe Project is a nonprofit run by volunteers using cutting-edge genetic genealogy research and analysis the same kind of techniques that hunted and caught the Golden State Killer. Volunteers identify victims from automobile accidents, homicides, and unusual circumstances, and also wild situations like persons who committed suicide under maybe an alias. The group was founded in 2017 by Colleen Fitzpatrick and Margaret Press, and they have been extremely influential in the John and Jane Doe arena for Oregon and the rest of the country. They do some amazing work.
Yes, we partnered up with the DNA Doe Project on this case because we needed them, and they processed the new SNP DNA profile and started searching for genetic associations within the DNA databases accessible to law enforcement. Translation for my true crime rookies or to my dismembers, they upload DNA profiles to open source databases like, say, GEDmatch and Family Tree DNA, and those volunteers from the DNA Doe network, or the DNA Doe Project, start building family trees from distant relatives, trying to find connections to our deceased girl. It's really fascinating work. So for Annie Doe, our case, her closest genealogy matches were from England and New Zealand. So two completely different countries. Not New England, not the East Coast in America, but England and New Zealand. It was painstaking work, but thank goodness these databases are that extensive. By early 2019, they ended up tracing her family line to relatives in, guess what? Aberdeen, Washington. So Washington State.
So shut up. After 47 years, after all of that work, they figured out she was a kid from Washington State, just up the road a bit from us.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Fucking crazy. That whole quest for identification came full circle back to the Pacific Northwest, but also pretty fucking amazing.
It's true. You know, talk about full circle back to the rugged and remote and wild and scenic Oregon. Absolutely. In February of 2019, a cold case detective I was working with at the time on this case, his name's Ken Selig. He's from Josephine County Sheriff's Office. He was notified that a potential match was found with a sister living in Washington State. So the DNA Doe Project notified him. Sergeant Selig traveled to Aberdeen, Washington to interview this possible sister. And at that time, he collected an oral swab standard known as a family reference standard from her. They had a great conversation. He learned a lot about her family, and he was really, really eager to continue the work on this particular family reference standard, this oral swab that he had taken from this individual. We were all really eager to learn the results of this DNA testing. And interestingly enough, we ended up being way too impatient to have that family reference standard mailed to the medical examiner's office where I work for confirmation testing. We wanted to do it quicker than that. So on his way back down to Josephine County from Washington State and the interview, Sergeant Selig and I met on the side of Interstate 5 freeway, or I-5, and Selig hand-delivered the swabs to me in the parking lot of a gas station.
Sounds like
totally secure.
Torrid affair.
I know.
That
yeah,
sounds
I
like.
know. Hopefully those cameras have all been wiped. But he hands over this piece of evidence that it was marked and sealed and secured. I overnight mailed those family reference standards to a private DNA laboratory for confirmatory testing that evening, and they got the family reference swabs the next day. So our impatience paid off, because
Absolutely.
on March, yes, we were both very interested in getting this done, and we weren't going to wait for the next day and the mail. So on March 12th, 2019, the Josephine County Sheriff's Office announced that the DNA Doe Project had successfully identified Annie Doe as Anne Marie Lehman of Aberdeen, Washington, and her nickname was Annie.
Okay, I'm going to repeat that. On March 12th, 2019, Josephine County Sheriff's Office announced Annie Doe's real name was actually Annie Marie Lehman. Horror movie shit straight out of The Conjuring. I mean, come on.
True.
She was only 16 when she vanished. 16. God. Do we have any idea what happened to her?
Not entirely. Based on her sister's account, when Sergeant Selig went and interviewed her, she may have been a bit of a rebel.
I know nothing about being a rebel. Nothing. Especially when I was 16.
We like that in our young ladies. We do. You got to take care of yourself. Some say she ran away. Others suspect she may have been trafficked. So that's an interesting point, because think about the time, Mindy. It was,
right,
probably late 60s, early 70s. We know that hitchhiking was an actual thing back then. That was a bona fide way to get from point A to point B for a lot of teenage kids. A lot of young adults were doing it, and it was completely normal back then.
It was. And, I can picture her, 16, in her little short shorts following a band, right? That was a huge thing back then. People would just, hey, VW buses, come on, hitchhiking down I-5, nothing bad could happen in the 70s, right? Peace, love, and cool shit going on.
Well, and you're not buying a bus ticket. You don't have the money to do that.
Absolutely not. It's hitchhike and, and being roadies and fun times.
Yeah, sweet kid, she probably thought she knew it all. I'm speculating, of course. We don't know a whole lot about Anne Marie Lehman at this juncture, but she's 16. It's the late 60s. There are things that kids are doing at this point in history that we wouldn't actually consider very safe here in the 21st century. But as we move on to the story, her cause and manner of death, they still remain a mystery, because we just couldn't tell from the bones. They were so degraded. They had been consumed by scavengers. She was in really terrible condition. So the case is still open, and Josephine County Sheriff's Office is still taking any information anyone may have to try to figure out what happened to poor Anne Lehman. People knew her, people loved her, and we want to know what happened to her. We've resolved the case and found her name, but this one's not done yet.
But now, again, like you said, we know her name, Annie Lehman. That's huge. And how insane is it that the initials carved in that ring she was wearing were her own? I'm betting she probably wanted someone to know who she was. And I think it's the sad fact is she knew she was in trouble. It was almost like she knew she was going to disappear, and she wanted to give investigators a clue to her identity before she even vanished.
It's crazy. I wish there had been enough room on that ring for her to write A. Lehman. It sure would have helped.
It might have been quicker.
If only we would have figured out that those were her initials. I'm not sure if we would have solved the case back then, though, because she actually had never been reported missing officially to any law enforcement agency. Her family did look for her, but if you're not officially in some sort of a database or a website, or if there hasn't been a case opened and a case number assigned to your missing person case, it is very hard for investigators to connect the dots on things like this. But also, the AL initials, super crazy, you're right. And how crazy is it that Joyce Nagy, that forensic artist, just playfully, randomly named her Annie one day, out of the blue? That shit is karma right there, I think. It's one of those things where we have to look back and say, this happened for a reason, and these investigators never gave up. Joyce Nagy never gave up. She was very happy when this case got solved. And again, this case is still open. So, all right, morgue fam, our dismembers, any takeaways from this? Never underestimate the power of science, persistence, and a whole lot of badass volunteers is my takeaway, I think. Maybe we also need a national jewelry registry to quickly identify skeletal remains by their personal effects. That's a joke.
Yeah.
That will never happen.
That will never happen.
But bottom line is the answers are out there, right? Sometimes they're just waiting for the right tools.
Hey, dismembers, got a case you're dying to hear us cover? Or questions about the science, the agencies, or just how we manage to sip wine or drink whiskey while we talk about dead bodies? Come on, right?
It's easy.
It's the answer is it's really, really easy.
We have a lot of practice.
Right? So slide into our DMs. They're always out there, and we're always looking for ideas to add to our lineup.
And hey, if you want more details about these cases or the incredible organizations we've mentioned, check out our website and our socials. We've got links, photos, and bonus content waiting for you. It's all right there. We'd love for you to go on, take a look around, click on some of the links, and help us maybe even resolve a case. Who knows?
Who knows? So, Nikki, where we are going to meet next time?
You know, we ask this question, but I always have the same answer because it's always the best answer, Mindy. Mindy, meet me at the morgue.